The rain had been falling for hours, blurring the city lights and washing away the colors of New York. Inside a small, forgotten diner on the corner of 9th Avenue, a young waitress named Lila Monroe wiped the counter with tired hands. She had been working double shifts for weeks just to pay rent for her tiny apartment in the Bronx. Her shoes were worn, her apron stained, but her heart was the only thing that never seemed to give up. It was close to midnight when the bell over the diner door jingled. Lila looked up and saw an old man stumble inside, drenched, pale, and clutching his chest. His clothes, though soaked, were clearly expensive, a dark suit that whispered money and power. He collapsed before he could even reach a booth. "Sir! Sir, can you hear me?" Lila shouted, running around the counter. The man's face had gone ashen, his breathing shallow. Without hesitation, she called 911, then tore off her apron and pressed it to his chest, trying to keep him conscious. "Stay with me. Please, stay awake," she begged, as his eyes fluttered open for a moment. "You're going to be okay." "Why are you helping me?" he murmured weakly. "Because you need it," she said softly. "And because no one else will if I don't." When the paramedics arrived, she rode with them to the hospital. She didn't even realize she was crying until the nurse asked if she was family. She wasn't. She was just a waitress who refused to let someone die alone. The next morning she returned to her shift, exhausted but hopeful that the man had survived. Hours later, 2 men in suits entered the diner and asked for her by name. Lila froze, worried something was wrong. "You saved Mr. Donovan," one of them said. "He's asking for you." Mr. Henry Donovan. The name rang in every business newspaper in America. The reclusive billionaire who built Donovan Holdings, one of the biggest companies in New York. Lila couldn't believe it. The man she found on the diner floor was one of the richest men in the country. When she arrived at the hospital, Henry Donovan was awake, hooked to monitors but alert. His eyes followed her with a strange softness. "You're the girl from the diner," he said, voice hoarse. "Yes, sir. I'm glad you're okay." He smiled faintly. "Most people in this city walk past a man who's fallen. You stop. Why?" Lila shrugged. "Because I know what it's like to need help and not get it." Something in her honesty disarmed him. Over the next few weeks, Henry asked her to visit. They spoke about life, about dreams, and about pain. Lila told him she wanted to study nursing but couldn't afford tuition. Henry listened quietly, a hint of guilt in his tired eyes. One day, as she brought him soup from the diner, he said, "Lila, you remind me of my daughter." She blinked. "You have a daughter?" "I did," he said softly. "She died 5 years ago. I was too busy building empires to notice she was slipping away." "You're about her age." Lila felt a lump in her throat. She wanted to say something comforting, but all she managed was, "I'm sorry, Mr. Donovan." He smiled weakly. "Don't be. You gave an old man something I thought I'd lost. Kindness." 2 months later, Henry recovered enough to leave the hospital. Before he left, he called Lila to his bedside. "I've made arrangements," he said. "You'll receive a letter soon. Promise me you'll open it." "Of course," she said, confused. He squeezed her hand gently. "You saved my life, Lila. I only wish I could have saved hers." That was the last time she saw him alive. Weeks passed. The diner was still her world. The smell of coffee, the hum of neon lights, the same faces, the same tips that barely covered rent. Then one morning she turned on the TV. Breaking news. Billionaire Henry Donovan passes away peacefully in his sleep. The cup in her hand fell and shattered. Her chest tightened. She remembered his tired eyes, the way he said thank you like it meant something deeper. Later that day, a black car pulled up outside the diner. A man stepped out and handed her an envelope. "Mr. Donovan instructed us to deliver this to you." Inside was a letter. "Dear Lila, you gave me more than a second chance at life. You gave me peace. I spent years surrounded by people who wanted my money, not my humanity. You, a poor waitress with nothing to gain, reminded me what it means to care. Enclosed is a scholarship in your name. It will cover your education, living expenses, and everything you need to pursue your dream of becoming a nurse. I can't repay you for saving my life, but maybe this will help you save others. With gratitude, Henry Donovan. Her tears fell onto the page. She didn't know whether to smile or cry. At the bottom of the envelope, there was a check. More zeros than she'd ever seen in her life. But tragedy has a way of shadowing even the brightest light. Months later, as she prepared to start nursing school, she received another envelope, this time from Donovan Holdings' legal department. It said the scholarship fund had been frozen due to a dispute among Henry's heirs. His children, who had never visited him in the hospital, were contesting his will. Lila's hands trembled as she read the words. Everything she had hoped for, the future she had begun to dream of, vanished in an instant. She sat on her bed that night, clutching Henry's letter to her chest, whispering, "You tried to help me, but your world wouldn't let you." The case dragged on for months. Lawyers, greed, and power, things she'd never known, now closing in around her. Eventually, the court ruled in favor of Donovan's heirs. The scholarship was dissolved. Lila was left with nothing but a memory and a letter from the only man who had ever seen her worth. She went back to the diner. The lights still flickered. The same coffee brewed. But now, every time a stranger walked through the door, she looked up, hoping just for a second to see him again. Sometimes late at night, she would sit by the window where the rain fell against the glass and whisper, "I kept my promise, Henry. I still care." And though the world forgot her name, somewhere in a quiet corner of New York, a waitress still carried the heart of a billionaire, and the echo of a kindness that changed two lives forever.